Hello everyone and welcome to our Call of Cthulhu live play. This is episode 5 where we are starting our new chapter. Just as a slight pre-warning for anyone watching, as the warning is in the book, there are elements of racism throughout this as we play through 1920s America. We're going to keep it true to the story but keep everything in check, so if that's not your thing, switch over. So, you've all received in the post a telegram or a radiogram from your friend Jackson Elias, who has contacted you 4 years later down the line since you last spoke with in Peru. What have you guys been spending those sort of 4 years doing? I know we sort of spoke lightly at the end, but has anyone had any further thoughts on what they've been doing?
Yeah, I've got one or two ideas for my mister. Essentially, he has got himself a job in the university. Because obviously he was a university lecturer in, nondescript American Ivy League college. So they were quite glad to take him on board, especially considering his predecessor was eaten by a giant worm. So yeah, he's learning Spanish. He's met himself a nice Peruvian lady, and he is doing a lot of his own research into the more occultish mythos type stuff that we've experienced in the first 4 chapters.
Okay.
He's returned to the site a few times, but it's just a dead site. That's he's not seen particularly anything beyond that. And obviously he's still in contact with his friend and colleague played by Luke.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else had any further thoughts on the last 4 years?
They're continuing what I said last time. Really, he's been running a gym in Peru. Didn't move back anywhere because there's no reason to go anywhere else. Relatively successfully as far as he's concerned. He's not made a lot of money, if any, but he has been quite happy just staying under the radar.
Okay.
Jakob has found his son. He spent a good couple of years living in and around Oxford, just trying to make up for lost time, and trying to put together in his head how the world really is, and trying to prove that to as many people around him as possible.
Okay. Jax?
Yeah, I think Jax probably became slightly more religious. Probably trying to find some sort of sense in the fact of what he saw. But other than that, he's still grumpy, and he still sits in his chair in his house, looking outside, telling people to get off his lawn.
Okay. So, over this period of time, it's been quite well publicised within the news about the Carlisle expedition. This has been, you can see it sort of, almost identical in every newspaper around the world as they share the same information. And you can see that as some of the articles that I've sent out to you over the last few days, has everyone had a chance to read them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all in your handouts. They're already in your pack as well as the telegram for reference in the future if you want to have a look at them. So essentially, the Carlisle since June 1918. There's a millionaire playboy, Roger Carlisle, has been travelling the world, and it seems to have ended in some sort of disaster. Which, to your fondness, that you have received a telegram from Jackson Elias, your friend from Peru, saying that he has information concerning the Carlisle expedition, and he needs a reliable investigating team to meet at January the 15th, that's 1925, at New York.
In New York?
In New York, yeah. Is anyone, for any reason, not going to go? Is there anything that... I assume that everyone's making their way there?
It's making it difficult for Greg.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I would probably have met up with Robert on one of our monthly meetups and discuss travelling back to the US together.
Yeah.
Back to me. I don't know if he's ever been. You ever been?
I think I was more Boston, but yes, I will have been to New York. I think, American born man in his mid-40s is likely to have travelled up at least the coast that he's based on. So I think so. But on top of that as well, I think I had quite a bond with Jackson. So there's no reason for me not to go. I'd be quite excited to go and see him, to be fair.
Sure. So you guys are both coming from England, so it takes you a short while to travel down to Southampton, where you board to the port.
We're in Peru.
You're in Peru, sorry. My apologies. Sorry, for a second I thought you'd gone back to England. My apologies. So you managed to find port in Peru, and it takes you. Let me have a look at my chart.
It's not bad very soon.
2 months is not something.
It looks like it'll take you 8 days in terms of travel.
8 days.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's quite irregular.
Is there anything that you want to spend your time on the ship particularly doing? So, as we go forward, any moments in which we will be boarding ships and taking that long period of time, you can learn new skills. You can spend time reading tombs if you acquire them throughout the game. You can also, go through the leveling up process which we did last time, and you can do some self-help in terms of your own sanity.
I think it'd be preparing ourselves because we're assuming that it's going to be what we've seen before.
I think I would be trying to get, because I've not been doing any research or anything, so I think I'll probably be trying to get up to speed with what Robert's been learning, because if Jax has been asking for us, I'm assuming it's got something to do with Peru.
Yeah.
I also can't find my character sheet, which is a bit annoying. How do you get into that?
So it's at the at the top where you can get the journal. Then there should be just a character sheet that's assigned to you. So let me just double check. It's still.
Oh yeah, no, I've got it. I've scrolled down. That's fine. I was just checking. Yeah, so I'm from New York originally, so can't remember. So a little apprehensive about going home.
Okay.
So I mean, it makes sense that I'd be sharing my research and doing it in a decent way because I am a teacher. So it would be that I'm trying to give the relevant points in a way that sort of meets Luke's character's needs.
Definitely. Okay.
But again, I think preparing for what's coming up next. I mean, I've got a massive scar on my leg from where I've lost a bunch of fat there.
Yeah.
I'm guessing one of my legs is still going to be a little bit smaller than the other because of it. It's just.
I would suspect I'll also be trying to teach Robert some basic, let's say, boxing skills or something.
Okay.
That's what he does.
Okay.
So.
And do you accept that, Robert?
Robert is the most enthusiastic man in the world. Of course he does.
Okay, so can you just make a power roll, please? At the very top.
Is that Robert?
Yes. Okay, so unfortunately, in his innate nature, he's not that willing to learn and pick up new skills. He's just unable to soak it up as quick as other people might be. Jax, how are you getting over to New Yawk?
I assume there's going to be some train or bus or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the rail system at this time is particularly good, and New York itself is a huge amount of railway travel due to the sort of trade in the financial centre and its elevated railway called the L, which opened in 1868. So yeah, so you're taking the train down, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I get on a boat.
You're on a boat.
Get on a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's immediately the song I thought of.
And it takes you 9 days to travel over. So upon arriving to New York, it has been a particularly rough time in terms of weather. Over the last sort of 10 days in January, the snow has been absolutely appalling. You can see that there are snow drifts around the side of the roads. It's still really horrendous in terms of icy, and every now and again there's still a flurry of snow in the air. At times it falls as low as -12. It's absolutely freezing this time in January, being January the 14th. And Jackson has arranged for you all to stay at a hotel named the New Grand Hotel at Broadway on 31st Street. So you're all sort of making your own individual way there, apart from James and Robert. And upon finding this hotel, it's got a very mock-Moorish decor. It looks pretty cheap. You can see that it's advertised. Some of the rooms are only $2 a day, and not all the rooms are well plumbed. So it's very, very basic in terms of actually getting there. And upon arriving, you can see sort of a reasonably run-down foyer, and there are a couple of people stood behind the desk. There's not too much foot traffic at this time. So you've arrived at this hotel. It's a nice respite from the weather outside.
What are we seeing when we kind of walk in? Is there sort of a reception? Is there a bar area?
Yeah, so it's a reasonably run-down foyer. There's two people stood behind the serving desk. There seems to be no one there in terms of queues, and there are a small set of table and chairs by the door for people to, sort of reading a paper.
No worries. Well, I suggest to James then that we check in, because obviously there's rooms available. I'm right in thinking that's what you said at the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, so Jackson's arranged for you to...
Yeah. I'd ask at reception if they'd spoken to Mr. Elias. Is he there waiting for us?
Evening, sir. Unfortunately, your rooms have all been sorted, but Mr. Elias is not here to greet you. I do have your key, though. It seems you two may be bunking up together. And he passes you a key, signaling sort of room 315.
Well, James, at least it'll move less than the boat did. Yeah, it's kind of what facilities do you have here, sir? I mean, is there a bar? Is there?
And there's a hesitation for a moment as he is almost not proud of the facilities that are here. I'm afraid it might be best to explore.
Thank you very much, sir. I kind of hand him a few coins in thanks. What I assume was a decent tip 5 years ago or 4 years ago when I was in the country. Money may have changed since then.
Yeah.
And kind of start making my way to the stairs, elevator. The elevators in 1922? I'm guessing probably not.
Probably stairs in a cheap hotel.
It's going to be stairs here.
Yeah, so I'm making my way to the stairs and start heading up, shouting back to James, are you coming? I'm just going to put this in and we'll come back down.
I'll sling my duffel bag over my shoulder and follow him up.
Yeah, okay. Slightly later, Jax, you will also arrive at this hotel. You go through a similar process of being welcomed and being told that you'll be sharing a room with Jakob. But he has already arrived and collected the keys, and he's waiting for you in room 316.
Is there a bar?
There is not.
I'd assume we would have gone to a bar afterwards that I would probably have somewhere I wouldn't know.
Yeah, would probably leave a note saying where we were likely to be going for the others.
Okay.
I mean, would we? Are we that considerate?
I think just tell the reception that we will be, because I would presumably know at least a bar in the area, and just head there.
Do they know that we're all together?
They've been informed that you are together by Jackson.
Okay, so if Jackson if Jackson, Jacob, or Jack turn up, tell them to meet us in wherever, somewhere close.
The bar.
Well, I'm from New York, so I'm assuming I would know a bar that would be within like 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'll turn up. I'll go inquire about a bar.
Oh, I say that we're in 1920s America.
Yes, we are, sir. So it might be harder to find a speakeasy.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole load of different hassle.
Yeah.
I've got no idea.
Okay. So, Jax,
we're
as
going
you're...
to America.
Jax, as you're coming up to your room, and
No, I'm not going to my room.
you're not going to your room at all.
No. I've been told I'm staying with Jacob. And I'm like, is there a bar? And then they say no.
No.
And then I'm going to go to wherever the hell they tell. And I'm going to take my bag with me.
Okay.
Just an old man walking around with a suitcase.
Yeah.
Okay.
I presume we're in a coffee shop or somewhere. I'm assuming
I'm going to need some serious alcohol to get through this evening.
No, 1920s America, prohibition, no alcohol.
I know, there's not going to be any, but I'm going to go
hunting.
And then whilst I'm going to the bar, I'm keeping an eye out for other hotels so I can buy my own room.
Yeah, okay.
At the coffee shop we're at then, could I try and convince the barista or just serving person to tell us where the speakeasies are?
Yeah. So you're served by a reasonably young woman in a diner, and she's sort of, pouring you endless coffee as you sort of sit down, asking if you want any pie, and seeing where you'd like to go. And when at the moment you sort of speak of speakeasies, she gets a little bit shifty. She seems uncomfortable at the idea of being asked about this.
I use my scintillating charm and wit and my persuade roll of 75 to convince her that we've been out of the country for a while. These are things that we would probably know otherwise, but look at us. We're not a couple of alcoholics or people are going to cause trouble. We're looking to have something of a good time. I also slip her a 5.
So this is the 14th of January 1925. So roll a persuade for me.
Just imagine
Watch me fail.
to a girl and she's slipping a $5 note and saying, "I'm looking for a good time."
I suppose. And she scribbles down on a napkin the name of the Thirsty Squawker, and it's on 32nd Street, so it's only one row over. And underneath, she writes just the word parrot.
So I just said, sweetheart, I think you've just saved my life, and kind of do the kind of flirty but not flirty thing that customers do, and allow her to go on her way.
Okay.
I kind of look over at James and go, well, it looks like America's not such a dry country after all.
So you guys manage to go, and you find and have yourself an evening within a speakeasy. It offers you the chance to relax and unwind. It seems like there's a reasonably hip culture here of quite young people. No one is dressed in a suit. And I suppose the liquor's all unbranded, all homemade, but you managed to have a reasonably decent time. And Jax, it takes you a bit longer to catch up to all of this. By the point of sort of like 9 o'clock at night.
Cool. Do I see any hotels on my way?
There are a range of hotels. You managed to see the Broadway Central. There's the Plaza Hotel. There's the Waldorf Astoria. All of these look considerably out of your budget.
Are the reception staff likely to be there when I get back?
Back to your hotel?
Yeah.
Depends on what time you get back, really.
Man, I can sleep rough.
In the -12.
You
Yeah.
really can't. You will die.
Dear.
How did the first character of this campaign die?
He slept outside because he was stuck.
Because he would not share a room.
I'm 64. I don't share a room, dude.
You're definitely not going to survive outside in New York in the winter.
So I'm just gonna drink and stay in this bar.
Okay. So, a couple of hours pass. Is there anything significant you guys want to talk about whilst you're here?
how much of a waste of time the last campaign, I'd say the last 4 years were. Not the whole 4 years, but the event in 4 years ago. Well, the Peruvian event.
Okay.
It was such a waste of time.
I kind of.
Paid for my last 4 years.
I'm kind of like I don't know how to respond to that because it's become the focus of a large part of my life is researching like the history and folklore of it and seeing about how it links into other things that I've done. So for me, it was a bit of a life-changing event. So I would call you a grumpy old fart and buy you another drink.
I'd probably get angry, but I assume I've had a few, and I won't say no to another one.
So time passes, the bar begins to thin out, and eventually the gentleman running the bar starts stacking the stools up on the tables. People start leaving.
I am going to head back to the hotel because that's a sensible thing to do.
Okay. Yeah.
I will ask Robert if he's coming. I will not ask Jax.
I'm guessing that this time round I haven't been talking to the locals and going for a little party, so I will. I'll come along as well in a very happy way. I will extend the invitation to come with us to Jax though, because that's what my guy does.
Okay. Don't really want to be honest. Not really a sharing room type of guy.
I'm sure we can sort something out somewhere. There'll probably be another room.
I mean, there better be. Either that, I'm going to sleep in the foyer, or hall, whatever it's bloody called, in 1920s America.
He'll also be unheated.
Yes.
Who cares? Just. It's better than sharing a room.
It's okay. I'll help you set up a tent.
What, outside?
No, in the foyer.
I'm down for that.
Oh, God.
Mainly because I know it'll piss people off.
Oh dear. So, upon getting back, it's late. It's sort of coming up to sort of 11:30. Everything is pretty much closed down on your way back, and it takes you a little longer to find your hotel originally than it did the first time round in the dark. Town looks as though it's starting to get a little rough as the night starts to set in around Manhattan. And so do you just go straight back to your rooms, do you?
I'm heading.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm guessing because of the weather and because of the fact that I don't really know New York, I'm going to be sticking with James, thinking, well, I'm going to get lost.
I do know New York, and it's not. I'm like, I don't intend to meet up with any of the people I know in New York.
Yeah.
So I'm not hanging around and going straight back to the hotel at this point.
Okay. So you two go up to your room. Jax, what are you doing?
I think I'm going to go up to the room and see if he's there.
Okay.
No, he's not there.
First thing, I'll ask at reception if...
is there anyone actually there? At the reception?
At the reception, at this time, no. It's not the well-staffed of places that they bother keeping. I mean, I suppose you're almost lucky that the front door's open.
Yeah, fine, go to the room then. I'm going to crash out.
Okay. Jax.
Is there a chair?
Where?
In the hall.
In the foyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's chairs in the foyer.
Is there one behind the desk?
There is.
Alright, okay. I'll go up to the room, see if he's there, and then if not, I'll just go sleep in that chair.
Okay.
The one behind the desk, just to annoy people.
Okay. So you climb 3 sets of stairs and get up to room 317.
It's a lot of stairs for a 64-year-old.
It's a lot of stairs. And as you wrap up on the door, is there any answer from Jakob?
I'm just going in.
You just
I'm
go.
not going to be that polite. I'm going in. I'm going to see if he's there.
Okay.
There's no answer. There's just some soft snoring.
Snoring? Alright, I'm just out. I'm just going to go sleep. I go back. I slam the door on my way out and then go downstairs. Sleep on the chair.
Okay. Okay.
Make a roll to piss in his shoes.
Okay. So, upon getting back to your room, Robert and James, it is probably maybe about a quarter of an hour whilst you're still getting ready for bed when the telephone rings within your room. A sharp sound that pierces through the silence and the hum of the pipes in the walls. Yeah, it rings and it chimes continuously.
Okay. I guess I go over and answer it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Who's that?
Ah, Robert, is that you?
Jackson.
I'm glad you've made it safe. I need you to come to my hotel. It's Hotel Chelsea. It's room 410 at 8 p.m. tomorrow. He seems really anxious. His speech is very rushed.
Do you want us to come now?
In the background you can hear sort of not necessarily foot traffic but outside. It would appear that he's in a grey box.
Okay.
And tomorrow you'll be there.
Of course I will. I'm writing down. There'll be a notepad next to the phone. Writing down all the details and everything else there. What have you got yourself into, Jackson?
Just please bring the others. And he hangs up the phone with a ching.
I turn around and speak to James and let him know what's happened. I considered going and knocking on the door for Jacob and everything else, but at the time it is and what have you, I think, well, we're going to be seeing him tomorrow morning. We're not doing anything for them. We'll tell him then.
Okay. The night passes uneventful. You get a particularly uncomfortable level of sleep, Jax, for a man of your age. This does your back no good.
It's acceptable losses.
Until the morning when you're prodded awake by the concierge. Sir, you need to move.
Alright, and then I'll sluggishly stand up with the chair connected to my ass, and then just move over to the corner with the chair, and then sit down.
Okay. They do not seem to care enough to fight with you over this. They are not that professional.
The customer is always correct.
Yeah. It seems less they care about the image of this already run-down hotel. Right, what does everybody do this morning?
I suppose we get ready. Does the hotel serve breakfast and stuff like that, or is it just going to be a case of off you pop and go find something?
Yeah.
I suggest to James that we kind of go and knock on the room for Jacob and for Jack.
We don't know what room that is, do we yet?
Do we not? Did we not find out yesterday? Oh, if we didn't, we can just go down and wait in reception, I suppose. Ask them there.
Okay.
Just get everybody together, explain what's happened.
I guess we go downstairs and see Jax sitting annoyingly in a corner.
Yeah.
And some pissed off looking concierge.
Yeah. So the three of you wait for perhaps half an hour or so until a gentleman sort of walks down the stairs. He is. Would you like to describe him, Jay?
Sure. So walking in is a roughly 23-year-old, very unattractive looking man, not in a kind of like ugly way, but in a very awkward looking way. He's of mixed race, and you can see that he seems to immediately see you all and start walking over to you. He's wearing quite a nice suit. It's quite nicely tailored.
Do we recognise this man in any way, shape, or form? And are there any distinguished features that we may know from somebody else he's related to?
Maybe. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you to make a roll.
How obvious is it?
It's relatively subtle.
Okay.
Relatively subtle. Like there are aspects of him, especially like his forehead and his eyes, the way he looks is quite similar.
Just for the sake of it, to see if you recognise before everyone else does, Robert, could you just make an intelligence roll for me?
Yes, if I can find my sheet. Watch me fail this with 85.
Boom.
No.
This is almost to you a spitting image of your friend Jakob, slightly younger, a bit more mixed race than he is. There's a few distinct differences. This is certainly not a tanned young man. This is a mixed race young man.
I kind of, I've got a look on my face like, that "do I know you" type of a thing. I kind of stick my hand out and say, what's my name? I forgot my name. That's why I want to see these. My name is Robert. Yeah.
I walk over immediately and shake your hand vigorously, and then just like, that is very nice to meet you, Robert. I heard a lot about you. That must make you, sir. That must make.
I think that makes me your uncle.
James, sir.
Yes, sir.
James. Is that you, sir? Yes.
I'll shake his hand.
And I guess the old man over there in the corner, that is his dear friend Jax. My name is Victor. I Victor Muse. If my father was Jakob Muse, I'm here. This is very, very pleasurable to meet you all.
We were expecting your father.
I hope I have not disappointed you, sir. I am here because I wish to prove myself. I wish to prove myself to my father.
Where is your father?
I suspect he is still in Oxford, sir.
I'm gonna
Not all
stand
bad then.
and I'm gonna put a hand on. What's your name? I can't remember. Some dude. I'm gonna go up to the young guy and put my hand on his shoulder, walk past him saying, I hope you're not as much of a knob as your father was, and then go up to his room and use the shower.
There won't be a shower.
Or whatever it is.
Sink in the corner.
There's a small sink in the corner.
Like, just freshen myself up after my beautiful night's sleep.
I'm just kind of like, oh, welcome, Victor. Your father never mentioned he had a son, but you're striking the resemblance.
At that, Victor looks a bit offended that he was never mentioned, but at the same time, just kind of thanks you.
To be fair, we were fighting man-eating slugs.
I spent many years hearing my father's stories of everything. Don't worry.
Did he tell you of my wrestling prowess?
No.
Oh.
No, sir, he did not.
He must have told you about the time where we all got drunk in the bar and had a party with the locals.
No, sir, he did not.
Oh. About the time we went looking for chickens?
No, sir, he did not. He said one day they stole his chickens.
Oh, that's only half the story. Trust Jacob not to tell it properly. Anyway, I'll tell you this story. And I'm kind of leading you off and explaining the story of how we bought chickens in Peru.
He just goes off with you and listens, like, intently. Like, to you, to him, the three of you are like figures of folklore almost from the last couple of years of hearing what you all got up to.
I'll come back down in between that story.
Okay.
Right, I'm guessing that in between sort of me rattling on the silly bugger that I actually am, we explain the phone call from last night and that we need to go see Jackson. So we kind of bring it down to a more serious end for that.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm just going to turn to them, say I'm going for breakfast, and walk out the door because we're just hanging around in a empty lobby here at the moment, and I'm hungry.
Okay.
I grab my coat and immediately follow him.
Yeah.
It's
It's an open invitation to anyone that's coming. It's not like I'm just storming off, but I am just going. I'm not waiting for them.
I'm just going to mutter as long as we don't have to share that as well, and then walk after you.
Okay.
We'll find a diner.
Yeah.
So you manage to find a diner. You have a nice succulent pancakes and bacon. You manage to sort of get some reasonable coffee in you. Is there anything you all wish to do today before 8 o'clock at night, when Jackson has requested that you attend his hotel?
I want to know whether anyone else has got any more information than me and James have got. Sorry, me and Robert have got, which is nothing really. Have they heard anything? What did Jackson tell them?
No, nothing.
Right.
Just I unfortunately only know what I've been able to glean from my father's stories. I'm sorry.
So why did your father not come?
That is a tale for another time, Robert. A tale for another time.
I can see that you don't want to talk about it at this point. My guy's perceptive enough to let that subject alone.
So thank you. Thank you.
Do you know what? I'm going to disappear for a little bit during the day, and I am going to give my ex-wife a call, considering that I disappeared 4 years ago, and she hasn't heard from me since.
Okay.
Well, I'm guessing that international sort of telecommunications wasn't amazing, and I was living in Peru.
So are you sending her a wire, as in?
Yeah, just I hope you enjoyed the marmalade. Stop. I'm back in the country. Stop.
I got that milk.
Amazing. Okay.
And just give her contact details of if you do want to contact me. Should you wish to contact me, here I am.
Okay.
Girl no longer pregnant. Stop.
Oh dear. Okay.
I'm going to find probably a coffee shop somewhere to hide, but not hiding, but I'm trying to keep a low profile. Let's say. I prefer not to get recognised in town.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we speaking to whoever I'm still with, presumably just Jax and James? Speaking to you both like quite brashly, he's just like, but we are here to investigate. Yes.
We don't know why we're here yet.
His telegram said something about Carlisle.
Carlisle expedition, possibly.
Yes.
You never know with Jackson. This could be
You
any.
never know with Jackson. I see. Okay, well, then let us find out. I suppose.
Yep.
Have any of you looked into anything that has happened to Carlisle?
No, you got why it's coming to him. You can't be a playboy and insult God forever.
Robert's your man for the occult. It's his fascination.
I see. I am somewhat fascinated by the occult myself.
Great.
And then I just kind of like pull out a deck of cards, and I'm like, "Can I help pass the time? Can I show you a card trick or two?"
card trick. Oh, for the love of Christ. And then I walk out.
Yes.
Oh, I thought Jax was a dick.
Do you want to see some magic? Watch me disappear.
I actually honestly thought you were going to say, let's play some cards. And I was going to be like, yeah, hell yeah.
In which case, I'll just take the deck off him and deal a hand of poker. Poker.
I mean, like, in that case, I'll stick around. But it's just as soon as it was ruined with a card trick, I was like, I'm out.
Victor just sits there and like grumpily plays cards with you all, like expecting you to be these like magnificent people, and realizing that you are just grumpy old men.
You've not even got the chatty one here. It's going to be like 6 hours of nothing.
And the day passes in painful silence.
Painful for him. Great for me.
You're quite happy.
James, could you roll a luck roll?
Probably not. given my history. If I can find it. No.
Okay. Okay.
Don't like the silent note taking.
Okay, so let me just type a bit more. Okay, so the day passed on in silence, and evening begins to fall. I suppose it's quite early dark nights here in January, and immediately the temperature falls down, and you notice, once every time the door opens with that ching as the bell goes, the breeze throughout the diner is horrendous, and it starts to get to sort of 20 to 8, that sort of time.
Can I just quickly ask, are we staying in the same hotel tonight?
It's up to you guys.
Do we know what we're doing past? He hasn't booked.
We haven't checked out, so
No.
my stuff's there still. So yeah, I
Okay.
guess we think we're staying.
He's paid
Cool.
for if you're on about has it already been paid for? Jackson's paid for the first 3 nights.
Right.
That's fine by me. I'm gonna at some point go back and then talk to the annoying young people on the desk and try and get them to give me a separate room, and I'll pay for the difference.
Okay.
Stop playing that horrible jazz music.
It's great.
It's changed.
I guess after doing my sort of running my errands of trying to contact my ex-wife, I kind of come back and I don't know. Would I go back to the hotel to meet you all? I'm guessing you'd all moved on from breakfast because it's.
No, we stayed there, I think, because there's no you don't want to be wandering around New York with nowhere to go. It's freezing.
Yeah.
I think we probably held up somewhere and drinking cheap coffee and
Being
got
bored.
a meal.
No alcohol.
In which case, I kind of come back and sit down at the table, play a few hands with you, then I go, do you know what would be really cool? If somebody knew any magic tricks.
At which point in time, he just kind of his ears, you see his ears prick up and his eyes light up, and he's just like, would you like to see one? And he walks off.
That's so good. I'll come back as well after my.
I suppose I would spend the rest of the day telling more and more embellished stories about the time in Peru that we had.
Okay.
being corrected every 2 seconds by them not going, that didn't happen, not like that. As my tale get bigger, I don't see the truth getting in the way of a good story. I think that's how Robert would be.
I'm half listening, half watching the room. Half. I'm not fully engaging in the conversation. I'm letting you run away with whatever the hell you're doing.
I also don't really care if you embellish at all in any way. You can.
I'm going on about how there were 5 of them, and they're all coming at me from different angles. And even though I had no way of doing anything, I managed to stand my ground. But eventually, I was taken down by one of the she beasts.
I thought you were going to go with the strongest male in the pack.
A little lovely.
Well, they were hardly human. And how eventually I won my freedom and lived to tell the tale. And I kind of get my leg up on the table and went, see that wound? Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
I came out the best on that day.
Victor
in college, they used to call me the gopher.
Victor listens to the entire story, and at the end of literally hours and hours of you telling stories, he just looks at you like, "That's not how my father said it."
We all remember things a little differently, but I'm sure that he was a modest man and he likes to play his own role down.
I'm just going to say, what a load of bollocks.
You weren't even there, man. You were in the camp.
No, it was more talking about the Jakob, the modest man.
I would please, if you could avoid diminishing the notion of my father around me, that would be very kind of you, sir.
Nah. I tell her how it is. That's never going to change. Not for you, son.
Just ignore Jax. The rest of us do.
It's probably the best. And then I'll drink my coffee, wishing it was whiskey.
He's probably sneaking a hit faster than Scotch.
He's probably withdrawing, to be fair.
Telling us how terrible these new toys for kids are. Hoops and sticks. We didn't have hoops and sticks in our day.
Victor gets up and starts to go outside.
Okay.
Victor.
How long we got to this stupid thing?
It's about 20 to 8.
Oh, thank God.
He finds some kind of transport outside, like a carriage or a car or something.
Yeah, so I suppose there's a considerable amount of train lines near here. There are taxi cabs are renowned for sort of being not licensed in this sort of time. So it's they're around, but the yellow cab company exists, but they are known for not necessarily being very safe in this sort of time. Buses and trolley cars do exist, and ferries.
How far is it?
In terms of, let's see if we can see if it's detailed on the map. So, so Hotel Chelsea is number 18 in Lower Manhattan in the bottom corner. You can zoom in with the scrolly thing at the top.
Yeah, that's it.
And you are... Where's it gone? Wall Street.
We're near the hotel, aren't we? So
yeah.
We're near, what was it? The New Grand.
The New Grand, which is number 17, isn't it?
Is it?
New Grand Hotel 17, Hotel Chelsea 18. So you're...
Oh, so they're pretty close.
Yeah, you're sort of 3 blocks vertical away and sort of 8 across.
Oh. Who was waiting for a car?
I just went outside to look for...
I'll just sort of laugh and start walking.
It's not far.
No, not answering, I'm just walking.
He like skips along behind you to try and keep pace, and it's just like,
right.
I take that as a no. Okay.
I guess I pay the bill and follow you out.
So it cost a whopping $20 for all of that day's worth of food and coffee, and that's quite a sting to your pocket.
I go half with.
Okay. So it doesn't take you long. It takes you perhaps, well, you probably arrive at the Hotel Chelsea around 5 minutes before your allocated time due to meet, and it's in the neighbourhood of Chelsea. It's found on West 23rd between 7th and 8th Avenue. It's a 12-storey red brick edifice with its magnificent staircase that was built as an apartment building in 1884, but reopened as a hotel in 1905. There are huge amounts of guests coming in and out. It's got a real nice sense of culture to it, this building, in comparison to the one that you're staying at. The people around there, you can see that they're they're the sort of people that are museums, and there's a bit of a bohemian sort of reputation to the entirety of the hotel. As you kind of go through, Victor, you notice that as you're going through to this hotel, you seem to be treated considerably different to how you were in the New Grand. Everyone doesn't seem to peer down their nose at you as they have done at the other, in the Travel, in the hotel of the New Grand. It seems a bit more modern and a bit more relaxed here. It's a more comfortable atmosphere.
Sure. It does subtly change the stride from that of somebody just skipping to keep up with James to somebody who's like able to walk a little bit more confidently beside him.
I'll go up to the desk and ask for Jackson Elias.
Sure. The concierge here is dressed a lot more smartly than the one at yours, and it's a woman with dark brown hair and strangely blue eyes, and of course, and she picks up the phone and she dials the number, and it rings, and there's nothing coming through. She puts the phone down. I'm sorry, sir, but he's not answering. He's in room 410. If you need to speak with him, but perhaps he's out.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, I'll maybe walk over to Robert and ask him what was said again. What did Jackson say?
He sounded. I mean, obviously, the information that I gave you that this is the place where we needed to meet was the main thing, and this is the time. But he sounded really harried. He wasn't in a good way in that conversation. I was quite worried about him, to be fair. I asked if he needed to meet us there and then, but he kind of hung up and went on his way. I think I may go up and just have a look on his door.
Yeah, I was guessing they weren't going to just let us wander around knocking on doors, but I think somebody does need to go and see if anyone's there.
I kind of turn around and ask, have I got any company on this trip, or do you want me to go up there and you guys wait here?
What floor's on?
Oh, it's like 401, so it'll be up 4th floor, won't it?
Is there a lift?
There's a one of those sort of old carriage sort of lifts, if that makes sense. With the
bellhop.
A bellhop sort of.
I'll go with you for taking the lift. I'll stay down here if you're walking. Can't be asked.
It's been at least 4 years since I've last been in a lift. I'm quite happy to renew that experience and kind of point the way to you and look like we're setting off.
Victor also joins you if he can, if he's able to.
Well, you'd be more than welcome to.
Oh, he doesn't ask. He just kind of like walks along behind you.
Cool.
I guess we're going to lift and go find the room.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a reasonably nice. It's a slightly jerky ride up, but pleasurable nonetheless. And the bellhop engages in some polite conversation about how awful the weather has been recently and how you've been lucky to have missed the majority of it. He welcomes you and opens the cage at the 4th floor, and you can see that you're at the beginning of the numbers of room 1, 401, as you go up the
And he was
hallway.
410 or something, was he?
All the doors are kind of a dark green, set into quite a tasteful wallpaper. There's nothing too garish about it. It's very nice up here. Only the best of what you'd expect of Jackson.
I'm guessing that there's nothing unusual about us where we're walking. We don't need to kind of keep an eye out for unusual things happening at this point.
It's been like 4 years since we saw anything weird, so... Well, at least for me. I'm not sure about you.
I've learned about many weird things, but seen nothing. So yeah, I guess we go over and knock on his door then. That's,
Okay. You make a rap on the door and there's no sound. Could you make a listen roll, please?
I can try.
All of us, or just one?
I suppose the two closest to the door.
On you go, Victor. I imagine I'm hobbling behind.
Okay. Victor, you can hear almost a near breathless scream coming from the other side of the door, almost as you can hear some clunking about, and immediately everything stops.
Sir, are you okay, sir? And I look at Robert and I'm just like, get the door open. There's something tragically amiss in that room.
Kind of start trying to turn the handle to see if it's unlocked first, because that would be a very clever thing to do.
It is locked.
I'm just going to say, for the love of God, and then smash into it.
Okay. Make a strength roll, please.
Oh. Why didn't I come upstairs?
Old man bounces off a door.
Whoa!
Immediately in one, you can see the door almost comes off its hinges as it swings open. You can see a large, flamboyant room, and you can see three people starting to make their way out of the window onto the fire escape. On the bed, there lies your friend Jackson Elias on his back, slumped off, apparently not moving. So, what does everybody do at this moment?
I probably order a coffee.
Lovely.
I'm going to pull out my gun and then hand it to Victor. Say,
Okay.
make you do that if you can.
He looks at it shakingly and is like, yes, of course, Jax. And then just immediately fires at one of the men in the window.
So just before we get to that point then, can everybody make a speed roll, which, because we're on foot, is a constitution. Success, fail, fumble. Right.
I fall over.
Amazing. Amazing, sir. I need a D100.
Is that how much damage I'm taking? God.
Right, and I succeed. So, this is going to be the first time that we are using the chase rolls. Yeah. So, Jax, you got... So, what's your movement, mate?
Good point. I'm not really wanting to chase these people, though, myself.
But you'll get the option to. It's just about determining
Cool.
how fast they are.
Starting my speed. So, it was a movement. 6.
6. Okay, so you got a plus, so you're on 7. Victor got a minus. What's your movement?
8.
8, so you go down to 7. Robert.
My movement's 7, so I'm guessing I'm going to be on a 5 or a 6.
Yep. And the men themselves are on a
Number.
8. So, okay. So that places the two of them there, and you guys in the room. Okay. So, immediately they start to run down the stairs. You can see that the people themselves are. You can see in sort of in the dark night there is 2 men of Kenyan origin, and there is 1 man who is white. He looks incredibly jittery. They're all wearing shabby suits and a very strange piece of cloth tied around their head with a long strip in the middle. It looks as though this has been soaked in some sort of blood. It looks absolutely disgusting, and it's left some residue on their faces. All three of them wearing that. So at the moment of you coming through the door, they begin to bolt, and they start to make their way down the fire escape. What's everybody doing?
Immediately going over to Jackson, sorry, and then using my medical knowledge to figure out if there's a chance that he's alive or if I can save him.
Okay. Okay. Before I answer that, I'll. What's everybody else doing?
I rush to the window with this handgun in hand, as I've just been told to chase them down by one of the three men that I believe is basically a savior of, like, my father. And I immediately open fire at the back of one of them because that's what they were told me to do.
Okay. Okay, so make your shot.
I believe in you, young one.
Is there a possibility I hear that?
Make a listen roll just with the music of downstairs.
Where's listen?
Probably be a spot hidden or a listen roll.
Listen. Let's listen.
There is a listen.
Yeah.
There's a listen.
Oh, it's not horrific. Oh no, I don't hear anything.
You were enjoying your coffee too much to hear anything. And then, Robert, what are you doing?
I guess I'm running towards the window, probably behind Victor because I'm much slower at the moment from tripping up over myself.
Okay.
I'm kind of looking out the window, looking down. In particular, they're going down the fire escape. Are they getting into a vehicle or anything like that? Or is there a vehicle that looks like it's for them at the bottom?
Okay, there is a vehicle at the bottom. So, as we're in a chase, can everybody roll a dex that's involved in the chase now? Jax hasn't rolled.
Am I supposed to roll?
Yeah. You're there.
Okay.
The young lad is useless, where these old men who are just, yeah.
Oh my god, Jax is just fucking smashing it. But beaten by Robert, and then Victor. So it goes like.
Victor's shitting himself in his pants.
Yeah.
So it goes like that. Right, Robert. So we're in a chase. So you get an action to do a movement, which is to chase up them. So you can either chase, or do something else, such as a skill action.
Are they going down?
They are starting to get out onto the fire escape and go down.
Well, can I grab the Bible that will inevitably be by the side of the bed near the window and lob it at one of them?
Yeah, I'll do that. But I say you in terms of going to the bedside table and then coming back to the window, you won't be going in. You won't be catching up with them, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, let's still do it, because if I knock one down, we might be able to question him if he don't fall to his death.
Okay. So make a throw roll of some kind. Otherwise, it'll probably just start at 10% if you haven't got anything in it.
Oh, there is a throw skill.
20.
There's a throw skill. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Unfortunately, the Bible, unused to the sort of the aerodynamics of it, it goes straight past, not even getting anywhere close.
Okay.
Close. And you manage to get back up to the edge of the fire escape door. Jax, how are you spending your turn?
Gonna go feel up Mr. Jackson.
Feel up Mr. Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson is lying on his back. He has been opened up in the sense that there's a huge wound in his chest, and you can see that upon his forehead there is a I will add this into your handouts. There is something carved into his forehead.
Is there any hope for this guy? Is he just dead?
He's already dead.
Right. So I'll try and determine that in the fastest of ways, like pulse and looking, and then run to the door.
Okay.
Sorry, run to the window. Sorry.
Okay. That's probably going to be your turn.
It's good.
Yeah. The guys continue running. So they run down the fire escape. It's narrow and it's rickety and it's covered with ice, which seems to have been loose from the fixtures because the fact that there are 3 of them on this at the single time. So they roll a climb to get down as quick as possible. 71. So one of them manages to get down. The other falls. Falls and sort of, I suppose, a heavy landing upon the ground. The fire escape manages to stay intact as one of them starts to sprint away, and 2 of them are stuck at the bottom. That's their turn. They're just trying to get away as quick as possible. Victor.
Victor goes out onto the fire escape. How often can I fire this pistol?
1 every 3 rounds.
1 every 3.
If it's one of those, yeah.
And he starts to try and chase them while shouting, "Sirs, you can't just run away like this. You appear to have caused my friend some great distress." And then I run down the stairs.
Okay. As you start to run after them, again, it's a very rickety, horrible feeling of sensation as you're starting to climb down this fire escape. Could you yourself make a climb roll? Okay, you managed to get to the bottom of the alleyway without any injury to yourself. Your hands are freezing up on the metal itself. Robert.
Yeah, I'm going down the fire escape.
Okay. Climbing or jumping?
I will be climbing because I'm guessing I'm quite high up and I don't really want to die.
It's pretty high, yeah.
Climb. Here we go. Ouch.
Okay. You yourself, you don't completely fall off the rails itself, but you do sort of slide down rickety and not, in a smooth way. You get to probably the bottom of the fire escape, but not off it as of yet.
Okay.
Jax.
I'm gonna go to the phone. That's probably here.
Yeah.
Dial the extension for the front desk.
Okay.
And then say that we're in Jackson Elias's room and he fell over. And if she could go and find our friend James, who's a medical doctor, inside the probably getting a coffee.
Okay. Could you roll a persuade or a fast talk?
It's probably persuade. Sorry, I'm just looking down the list. That's terrible. What's fast talk? Alright, boys. It's gonna be a hard one. That's not too bad.
She doesn't see the urgency in what you're saying and doesn't recognise who you might be describing.
The big ugly man.
I just said James. All she has to do is go to the stupid coffee place. What does she do? Like, how does she display that?
She's merely just looking around while she's on the phone to you.
She's not like, oh, I'll go do that.
No, she doesn't recognise any of the urgency.
I'm just gonna scream now. Now!
Okay, I suppose I'll get right on that now, sir.
Thanks. And then I put down the phone.
Okay. She begins to start looking for James in the hallway, in the foyer. Sorry.
Okay.
So the guy that jumped onto the bottom of the alleyway, he starts sprinting forwards. It goes down the edge of the alleyway next to the hotel, and the main road is probably about 6 meters away from the base of the step ladder. It's incredibly difficult to get through the garbage because of the pile-up due to the recent snow, and he starts sprinting to force his way through the garbage that's laying on the floor.
Is that the guy that fell, or is that the
This
guy?
is the guy that landed clean. So he manages to. He almost leaps over, as in a sprints, and he leaps over some of these piles of rubbish, and he continues on his way forward. The two on the floor manage to get up and start making their way, but don't get away from. They're still in Victor's vicinity. Victor.
As they start to get up and start to try and move away, Victor just points the gun at them and is like, "Don't move, sirs. I will shoot you. If you start to run, I will shoot you."
Okay. Make an intimidate roll.
Please tell me it's really low.
Okay. So.
That was the least intimidating chat ever, anyway.
At the moment,
you fumble and intimidate.
As you start to say this, your voice cracks, and the man in front of you, the white man, you can see as he looks over you, he has made a massive drop from, where he's sort of fallen and landed ungraciously from the fire escape. And as he looks at you, he doesn't look in any pain. His pupils look incredibly dilated, even though it's dark outside. This man looks high. And the other one simply laughs as they start to try and get away from you, confident that you won't pull the trigger.
Sir, come. And then I just try and start moving on after them.
At this moment, James, a concierge approaches you. Excuse me, sir. Are you James?
Yes.
You're wanted upstairs. Something about a friend having a fall?
I'm sure he's okay, and I'll go and check him out in my least threatening voice.
Thank you.
And
They were quite concerned.
Room 410.
410.
Okay. I will walk casually to the stair, and as soon as I'm out of sight, run.
Start sprinting. Okay.
Yes.
Could you roll a dexterity roll, and I'll fit you in, depending on how fast you get up. Okay, you managed to make this double time, taking stairs 3 at a time. At the moment, the adrenaline is purely carrying you, as your gut tells you something's not wrong. And I will slot you in midway for that extreme roll. Okay, Robert.
Right, I'm assuming I don't need to make a roll to get off the fire escape from where I am now, because I'm at the bottom. I just didn't quite make it there. So I kind of help past Victor's character, go, "This is why they call me the Gopher," and rugby tackle the injured, the injured guy.
Okay, you go for it.
Yep. What am I rolling?
So there should be. Let me just pull your character sheet up. I'd probably say that's probably going to be a brawl.
Okay. Well, I think the GM should give me an advantage for that fantastic one-liner.
You don't. Oh no, sorry. I thought that extreme was yours.
I haven't rolled anything yet. No.
You roll, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do I miss?
You failed. How did you guess? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, unfortunately, as you manage to go into full gopher form as you're running forward, the guy doesn't successfully dodge. However, you do manage to just dive into snow and garbage as you attempt to rugby tackle him in the best way possible. It doesn't look good. It does not look good at all, sir. Jax.
I'm gonna pick up the door and then attempt to place it back into where the door used to be.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so you start fitting the door.
I mean, also keep my eye out for James, assuming he's going.
James comes charging up the stairs as you are starting to put the door into place and reaches the room of 410. You can see Jax rehinging a door.
So where's this? There's a guy in the room still, is there?
Dead guy, yeah.
What was tried brawling with?
No, that's
No, no.
down at the bottom of the fire escape.
All right, okay. So
It's just the dead body on the bed.
I'm
where are
guessing
the
though,
others?
if it's happening simultaneously, he's going to hear the big clattering of me hitting a garbage can.
Yeah. When he comes up, I'll just point to the window.
Right, so I'm going straight out the window. I'm not
Okay.
even pausing because
What's your movement speed?
probably not very fast.
100.
99, 6.
6. Okay. Okay, you managed to get up onto the fire escape, onto the top of it. Okay. Right. How many spaces away are we? So, the guy running on the floor managed to make it into the main road, and you can see that he jumps into a car. It is a... it's a... idling black 1915 Hudson Touring Roadster. Who's at the front of this? Robert's face down, aren't you? And Victor. So both of you, Robert, I want you to make a hard spot hidden, and Victor a spot hidden. Both of you see the car,
Oh, hang on.
but
Wrong sheet.
Victor, you see a number plate of NYL7.
NYL7.
Yeah. And Robert,
I see nothing but garbage.
you see someone's chicken dinner from yesterday. Okay, so the two on the floor who start running, they proceed down the alleyway and start to navigate their way through the garbage itself, and immediately follow suit with Robert face planting into the snow and the rubbish. Not doing well at all. Victor.
I walk up behind. Did one of them seem more like in charge than the others, other than the guy that ran away?
So one is a Kenyan-looking man. I will. Let me just get to the descriptions. Okay, so they're both wearing very shabby suits. They're both wearing this strange ceremonial headpiece. One of them looks particularly rougher than the other, purely for the sense that he looks like he's high, potentially homeless. Whereas the other one looks at least with it.
I go towards the one that looked at least with it, and point the gun that I can shoot this round. I think because it's been 1, 2. I can shoot this round.
Yeah.
I point at like his hip almost as like as a big large target that I think is going to debilitate him.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm like, sir, please do not try and run. It seems you have hurt my friend up in the room.
Okay. Make an
I will shoot
intimidate
you.
with advantage. Sort of get an extra dice.
So I get the extra dice that will not do anything. But let's do it.
Hey.
He stays there. He slowly and reluctantly raises his hands.
Can I make a... Power is like mental constitution, right?
It is, but what are you trying to do?
To not be shaking so much that I pull the trigger by accident.
Okay, that is your resolve, essentially. So, did you fire?
Captain, man, you captain.
You gut shot him.
Okay. The firearm discharges, and through the alleyway you can hear this echo breaking over the sound of traffic at night. And luckily, you see that it's gone past, and not only does the one who's already surrendered stop, so does the one who looks fidgety and alert and wired. He also rolls onto his back in the trash and stops.
Much better, says. I apologize for shooting. That was mighty loud. But please, I will shoot you. Stay where you are. And then I kind of like awkwardly stand there, pointing a gun, kind of like shaky and hand at them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the turn.
Okay. So at this point with them, they're pretty much beaten into submission. I'm happy to come out of sort of combat rounds. If you guys want to just free flow what's going on.
So I'll make my way down there more
Okay.
carefully if it's not in a chase type situation.
Yeah, yeah. So you managed to get down.
I
to the bottom.
kind of do the best version of a frisk I can do and remove any weapons they may have.
Okay. So, could you roll for me then? Let's say a D10, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 times, we'll say. We'll do 7 times.
Seven.
The first one, yeah, 7
No,
times.
sorry, 7. Right.
7 separate rolls.
There you go.
Excellent, thank you very much. So, you managed to pull out from him a picture, one photograph, which I will put into your thing, Mr. Robert. One photograph everyone can have.
Yep.
What was the other numbers you got? So you got 9, you got 8. 1 matchbook.
Okay. Has he got a name on it, like a hotel name or anything that way around?
The matchbook, yes. So the matchbook is from the Stumbling Tiger Bar. If I can find it. Apologies, there's a huge amount of handouts within this game. So let's add a handout. Matchbook. Roberts. 1 matchbook.
Yep.
Number 7. A business card going by the name of Mr. Edward Gavigan.
Okay.
Number 6. A letter addressed to Robert Carlyle from Warren Bessart. Which is... Where's it gone?
Are these supposed to be coming out for all of us, or just?
Just for Robert at the moment, if he's got the hold of them.
Yeah, I basically have the matchbook.
I was just wondering because they're not coming out for me, which is fine because I'm not the one taking them off.
I mean, I obviously will share this with everybody because.
And a number 10, which is a small sheet of paper. So inserted into a second volume of Andrew Dickinson's White, A History of Warfare with Science with Theology and Christendom, there is a sheet of paper at the beginning of the chapter XIV, from fetish to hygiene. It's a handbill that was, to advertise a lecture within the area, which I will also put in your thing, Robert. So those are what you find on him, a considerable amount of different things.
Okay. What about the other guy?
That's between the two of them.
Right, okay, cool. I guess as well then I'm kind of shooing him back towards the guy with the gun, and at that point I'm guessing James arrives and he's a lot more intimidating than I and gets him to do whatever he wants.
So we got two of them. One's sort of with it, and one's a bit more drugged up, I'd say.
One's certainly very high. They both do not seem mentally well. They both look to be more intimidated by something other than you in front of them.
The one that's slightly more out of it, I am going to hit in the face very hard.
Okay. So I take it with the intention of not killing him.
Oh yeah, trying not to kill him.
I say that because I know how well you hit, and I don't want an accidental death. Yeah. So just make a hit just for the sake of a roll, just to see. Boom. Okay.
Oh,
so you split his
because you
lip.
can barely miss.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing he can do.
You split his lip as blood starts to trickle down his lips. There's a sudden oof, and he managed to maintain reasonable composure. Yeah.
So I'm turning to the other one and saying, why?
He's kind of chummering away. His speech is very fast, very pressured. He is talking about loyalty. He's talking about how it doesn't matter, how anything you can do will not possibly be worse than what he will suffer later on.
Could I try and persuade him that that's not true and we can do some very horrible things to him?
Try a psychology roll.
That will work for me, I think. Psychology.
Extreme. Okay. You can clearly see that this man is deeply disturbed. Whether or not he's having a psychotic episode, you're unsure, but he is certainly not within the ability to talk properly with you. He looks like he's been through an awful lot of trauma, and you can see sort of signs of PTSD as he dissociates and comes in and out of reality.
Okay. I kind of look over at James and kind of shake my head in that way of, look, we're not going to get anything out of him that way.
I'm going to grab him by the throat and just say, why?
Okay.
I'm not very sophisticated.
He continues chunnering away, and he gobs in your face. There's a big hole.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah, he's going to get punched.
Okay. And there's almost like an insane smile as blood drips down his teeth as he just laughs in your face.
I kind of put my hand on James' hand like, James, no.
No, it's done.
Teeth.
No, I said, like, don't do
away.
any more. Don't do any more. I'll look around to see if there's, shout up at Jack to throw down a blanket or something like that. Let's put it round him and bring him back inside and see if we can calm him down before we talk to him. I said, look, he's going into shock. We're not going to get anything out of him. We need to calm him down before we get anything out of him at all.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw a duvet down.
So I kind of wrap him up in the duvet and say, right, let's try and get him back in. Are we taking him back inside, or should we go to our own hotel to interrogate and torture this guy in the room with no door?
I mean, I'm not there, so I'll just stay in the room.
With the body and no door.
Well, no, I put the door back on. So, like, I'm trying to keep it quiet.
Like still shaking from this, Victor just kind of like offers Robert the gun. Like, would you like this?
No.
I will take the gun and I will put it in the back of my belt because I just don't want either of those two having the gun.
It didn't come up much in the previous thing, but my guy's got a massive aversion to guns, which is why he's never touched one in all the things. So he's just like, no, I'm not. No.
I hand it to you,
Right.
but you haven't. And then I look at these guys and I look at both of you and I'm like, do you both have this? It's a bit cold out here for me.
Let's go back inside.
Let's not go back inside this hotel.
Oh no, I go back inside this hotel. I start trying to climb back up the fire escape if it's down and easy to climb up.
Okay. It's easy enough to do.
I kind of. We need to know what's happened to Jackson. We need to know what's happened to Jackson, don't we? So, well, I kind of look at James. What do you want to do with these guys? Because we can't just go now.
You're cool. What we do with these guys? I was doing what I wanted to do with these guys, and you stopped me.
I kind of right. Let's take them back to our hotel where people really don't give a fuck who comes through the door or where they sleep.
Okay.
Then we'll deal with them there. There's Jackson, Victor up with Jackson. I'm sure they'll do what they need to do up there.
Okay. So
right, yeah, we'll take them back then.
Okay, so the two of you start walking down the alleyway onto the main road to get back to the New Grand Hotel. Could you, two of you, make a luck roll?
No, probably not.
Almost certainly not. No.
Okay. And what are the two of you doing upstairs?
Waiting. Has he
You're
come in
waiting.
yet?
Has who come in yet? Sorry, Victor.
Victor, yeah.
Yeah.
I've come in and be like,
As soon as you come in, like, where's my gun, boy?
James has it.
All right.
He
loses it. It's on you, though.
Okay. I will find you another one if you need it.
No, it's not another gun. You don't replace that gun. It's on you. I'll be taking it probably like this guy. Then I point to Jackson on the bed.
Victor just kind of like looks incredibly sheepish, looks at the body, and then looks even more sheepishly back at you. Like, is he dead?
Oh yeah, he's dead. I mean, I know I'm a medical professional, but if you look at the stomach, I'm pretty sure it's a dead giveaway.
Like, can I make a unroll to not throw up? I guess.
Yeah. I will also share with you the
or a power roll. Like, which one is more like mental fortitude? Power, surely.
Power's mental fortitude. Con is whether, like, if it smells so disgusting that you throw up.
Okay, I'm fine.
Okay.
Can I get lucky on that?
As you look up on sort of Jackson's head, I suppose you've had more time with this Jax than anyone else, so there are some symmetrical marks carved into the skull, or the forehead rather, of your friend. It looks strangely as kind of like two brackets on the side with a range of cuts circling out in the center. Something that you're not too familiar with. And going back into the alleyway, as you two sort of approach the end of the alleyway, almost simultaneously is coming out as you're leading two men wrapped up in a blanket, two uniformed on the beat officers bump into you. And at that point, we'll have our evening break whilst we all digest some of the clues and what has happened. Okay, so as you have turned around the corner, two uniformed officers bump immediately into you and look taken aback by looking at two men leading two men who are essentially tied up in duvets
We
and
didn't
blankets.
tie them up, did we?
Well, I suppose they're wrapped, aren't they?
Yeah. I am intending to just say evening officers and walk away.
Is that what you're going to
I kind of look at like, what a night, you know.
And leave the two gentlemen that are now looking very dishevelled because I've smacked them both. And we don't know anything to do with them. They were next to us as we walked around the corner.
Okay.
That's my gamble.
Okay.
Because I've got a revolver stuffed in the back of my trousers. I don't want to get arrested.
So the officer to the right of you is smartly presented. He is particularly pale with a reasonably beaky nose, and you can see just sticking out from the bottom of his hat is quite a close cut haircut. And he looks at both of you, all four of you, in a slow glance as he tries to work out what is happening here. And he sneers at the Kenyan man and says, "What's going on here?" And you can see almost like there's a tightened grip on his baton. There's a wooden baton sticking out from the side of his trousers.
Giggly, giggly, giggly.
I'm going to attempt to persuade him that nothing untowards and we've just found him. I'm going on from what James has said now. Yeah.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we've found these guys in the alleyway. They were not in the best of shape, so we tried to just get something for them. We were actually going to go to the police station now with them. But since you're here, can we continue with our evening? Because we've just left our friends who's on his stag party, and it'd be a shame not to be there to sort of toast the stag. And we've got plans for him later on this evening. If you're a man of the world, I'm sure you understand what I mean.
Okay. So that was a particularly good explanation. I would like you to make a normal persuade roll on that, because I think that was so good.
If I can find the persuade button. There we go.
Oh, yes!
Immediately you see the grip loosen from the baton as he goes, "Some wise citizens you are," and both of them move almost together as one, still cautiously looking around you, and almost grip the shoulders of both of them, the two wrapped in the blankets, and we'll take it from here.
So, officers, rather than wasting your time, do you want us to take them to the hospital? We'll tell our friends what's going on.
I'm going to put my arm on Robert's shoulder and just say, we'll leave it with the officers now. Good night, gentlemen, and I will steer him away quickly.
Okay.
Good night, officers.
Knowing how corrupt the New York officers could be.
Okay. So you managed to walk away perhaps maybe 10 feet, and you can hear, purely you can hear behind you, one of them start manically laughing as and there's a sudden, that real sickening sound of sort of skull splitting as a baton hits the back of a head. Almost nothing in the sense that it hits the floor, but there's that real thwack sound. And seemingly the commotion stops.
Keep walking, Robert.
I'm going to keep walking, James. And I guess we go around the front of the building so we can just go in the main entrance and then back upstairs.
That may be a bit obvious.
Well, we were going back to a stag party, weren't we? So.
Oh yeah, no, I think we head back to the main street. But,
right.
I don't think we can go back into the hotel. Well, we probably could, but they may wonder why we didn't come down from the upstairs. Just come in the front door twice.
True.
Okay.
So what do we do? Just go somewhere out of sight for a little bit to see them go away and then maybe go back in? Or are we just not going in at all?
I don't know. It's your call. I suspect we don't want to be anywhere near that hotel room, as there were gunshots going off And there's a dead body in there.
Could we maybe make a call and get them, because we know it's room 410, and maybe give them a heads up of what's happened?
Yeah, is there a phone box?
So typically in that sort of hotel, there is the sort of phone booths on the wall in the foyer. There's every now and again, probably about every 10 blocks or so, there's a grey box.
Let's go over to one of those and just, can you patch us through to room 410, please?
Yeah, speak to the operator, ask for the hotel, and then ask for the room.
Yeah.
To be honest, the receptionist from earlier on did seem dopey enough just to put that through without questioning it.
Well, I mean, why would they? If you ask for, can I speak to Jackson in room 410?
So it kind of goes through. It's an incredibly cracky line. You get through to the main switchboard where a very nasally, and which would you like to be transferred to? And they transfer you through to the hotel. And again, the lady at the front desk patches you through.
Mr. Ellis, room 10? 410?
Of course, sir, of course. And the phone begins to ring in the room where Victor and Jax are.
I'll pick it up, I think.
Yeah, Victor is probably at this point in time quite shook up. He will have started to inspect the cuts on Jackson's head, I guess.
Okay.
Trying to see if he can recognize them in any way, shape, or form.
So it's Jax on the phone, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up and say Jackson.
Jackson? No, Jax. It's James.
Yeah. Oh, hello, James.
We've just had a run-in with the police and lost the 2 guys. I recommend you have a quick once-over and get out of the room.
Sounds good.
Who knows who overheard the commotion before, and I'm not sure that's where you want to be found in the middle of New York with a dead body.
All right. Sounds good.
We've had this conversation before.
Yeah. We'll see you back at the hotel.
We'll see about that.
Cool. Take it easy.
We'll head back to the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing else we can do.
Okay, so it's reasonably uneventful. Victor, as you're having a little look over, could you make a? It'll be a hard. Would it be a hard or would it be extreme? It's probably going to be an extreme occult roll.
Extreme?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Okay.
And that's an extreme occult roll.
Okay. So I will type in the information that you know in a second. So you would know as much as. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I look at Jackson. I'm like, this is some weird cult stuff. We should search this room quickly and leave. I believe.
Thanks. States the obvious, and then just start smashing through the drawers and shit.
Okay. You managed to find not a lot. It looks as though Jackson was traveling extremely light. It looks as though he had barely unpacked, suggesting perhaps he'd been on the move.
Notebooks, same things written.
It looks as though, so as you look in his bag, and it looks as though where some things have scattered out from the men sort of running away, there is definitely, I suppose, an absence of notebooks that you know Jackson sort of would carry, even his own books, and largely a few of his personal effects aren't there.
So they nicked them, okay. I'm going to quickly check the cut in the belly.
Okay.
He just basically say, is anything missing? Is the cut obvious in any way or weird, or if they basically just try to figure out the purpose for it rather than the markings on the head, because I presume the weird boy Wonder has looked at that.
It was most certainly a reasonably accurate killing blow. It looks as though it's a kind of sort of like an axe sort of damage.
An axe?
Yeah, like an axey sort of pointed damage. It's quite that kind of almost like triangular shape, as opposed to sort of a slice. Yeah, it looks sort of deep, and it looks like it was a one-hit wonder.
Cool.
And then
it was an attempt to kill rather than
anything else.
Knocked him out and then tried to open him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Do you say any of that?
No.
You don't say any of that? Okay.
No, I mean, I don't think I see the need. I'm not trying to keep it from you. It's just.
Yeah, I don't think he would say. No. Can I check through Jackson's pockets and stuff, trying to avoid as much blood as possible?
Yeah. There doesn't really seem to be much in there. There is his wallet still in there, which has sort of $50 in. Quite a considerable amount of money to be carrying around. There are a few receipts. It looks as though he's been travelling purely by taxi cab, and it looks as though he's been eating out predominantly every day. But these range from sort of Manhattan to Brooklyn to the Bronx. He seems to have not stayed in one place each day. If you look at the numbers of the receipts.
Okay. Then, have you did you check pretty much everything in the rest of the room, Jax?
I hope so. That's the plan anyway.
You can roll a spot hidden just to see.
I'm just gonna check things like under the bed, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What time is it, by the way?
The time, by now, after all that ruckus, probably about 8:15.
Right, I kind of turned to James on the way back going, I've remembered that I have a letter and a flyer for something. Do you want to see these things?
What?
Because during the ruckus, I completely forgot about having them, and I was too busy trying to convince the police. But I've just read them.
I was so confused as to what you were saying. I thought you were inviting him out to dinner or something.
While he wonders that, that is done, can I also spot hidden in the room?
Yeah.
Your eyes fall out.
Yeah, you can't see shit.
Yeah, I'm way too distracted by like the markings on his forehead that I think I know where they're from and stuff.
Can I make the Cult of Darkness lecture flyer and the letter from Warren Bessart public to these guys, so I don't have to just read it out, because that ain't one of my strong points?
Yeah, so I'll share it with James for now because he's with
I guess me and Robert will be going through that because that's all we've got now.
Yeah.
We haven't got the guys.
Because I think we may want to go visit the Cult of Darkness lecture, because it's called the Cult of Darkness and we're playing Call of Cthulhu.
Meta.
What was I going to say to you? Are you only sharing those two things with him?
Well, I'll share all of them with him.
You're happy to share all of them?
Yeah. Well, it's not secret things. I'd share it with the other people if they were actually here.
Yeah, of course. What else have you got? Cult of Darkness, business card. This to you.
So we're going to miss the Cult of Darkness thing.
Well, it lasts for 2 hours.
All right. Well, we need to
Yeah. Well, it's that thing where we can go that, or maybe tomorrow we can try and find this professor.
No, I think we go and do that, and we go at least there.
Mm-hmm.
See whether we can sneak in. Well, not sneak in the back, but whether we can still get into the lecture at the back.
Because
it's 8:30 now.
Yeah. Are you going, the two of you alone, are you?
Yeah, well, I don't think we've got time to wait for the others. I think we just go, because it started at 8. So
Okay.
we'll leave a message in the
thing ring through.
Leave a note on under their door that we've gone there, and then because there's not going to be anyone on reception.
Yeah.
Slip a note under the door. We're going to wherever that is. I can't pronounce that place. Schneidler.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. We're going there.
Okay. Just trying to see what that is on the map. So, okay, roll a navigate for me.
No, that's not the right thing. Navigate.
Fail.
I should. I only had a 10% chance of passing.
Is this somewhere weird in New York? Bearing in mind that I used to live here.
No. So you managed to get to the New York University. However, you appear to arrive sort of just at the end of the lecture, missing largely most of it after you have circled yourselves a few times. Professor Cowles is there. He's still sort of there talking to a few of the people who attended his lecture afterwards. It's reasonably easy and signposted to get to the lecture hall that he's in. And he seems to just be talking over with a few people as the rest of the people clear out.
Okay. Now we're in Robert's world now.
Do I recognise this guy? Would I know some of his work?
Remind me of your discipline.
History and folklore, and I've got a lot of information about the occult and its links.
Okay. Let's.
To give you more info, the idea was that I researched the history of ancient cultures and the folklore of those cultures, and
Sure.
I'm making links between how in different cultures and different societies the same stories are continually told.
Okay. So
which links to the occult, because obviously that's the whole Cthulhu thing.
yeah. You've heard of Professor Cowles, however, you're not completely familiar with his work, being that he is a professor who you know is from Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Would I know enough to blag a conversation with him?
Quite possibly. You know that he often guests at the Miskatonic University, but you know that he's interested in some of the similar things that you are in relation to, I suppose, the occult and sort of legend, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay, well, I kind of use that as a preface to go over and meet him, and I introduce James to him at the same time.
Okay.
I explained we kind of missed some of the lecture because we were otherwise disposed, so I asked him to give me kind of what was this evening, what was the keynotes for this evening.
Could you make a charm roll?
Charm.
It's on there, like a...
Yeah, I will find it. Ironically, did I make myself charming? No, I didn't. Made myself persuasive.
I can intimidate. I'm good at that.
All right, mate. Shame you missed the beginning of it. Quite like presenting this a few times. Tonight's mainly been about all the different cults and predominantly Aboriginal stories that have come over from my culture. What did you want to know?
Well, just I kind of how would I do this? Do you know you were talking earlier on about the gentleman who had the Kenya guys? They had a symbol on their turban things, didn't they?
They had a wrap around their head that was kind of bloody and sort of long, sort of. If you imagine, sort of almost like it's wrapped around, sort of like and then like a crown, but then the beginning, the front, there's like a bloody bit hanging down the center.
Yeah, well, I explain my background and where I kind of come from, which hopefully will endear him to me a little bit because we're in similar fields. And then I start talking about sort of my research is based on sort of the mythology of folklore and the cultures and everything else there. And I kind of think one thing that I'm particularly interested in is a new thing I've found. I'm trying to put my hand on what this cult is, and I kind of describe the headdress and what it is and say that it could have been used. I think it may have been a device used in ritualistic activities, maybe sacrifice.
Okay. So he talks to you. So he sort of goes on to explain. It sounds really interesting, Mr. Dixon. I'd love to read some of your stuff sometime, but not familiar with any of this work.
Okay, are you familiar with the work of Jackson Elias? Or Elias Jackson, should I say?
He appears to have had no knowledge of him, apart from a couple of books on his Polynesian work in the New Zealand. Enjoyed them.
So you never met the gentleman?
Never had the pleasure.
Okay. So tell us more about the death cults that you've been, or the culture of the cult of darkness. Then, is that a headline to bring us in, or?
So bearing in mind that he's just been presenting up on this topic for the last hour and a half, he's not necessarily that inclined to repeat himself. Can you make? I'll let you make a persuade roll to see if he's got he can be bothered. Okay. So clearly,
my ex-wife is a huge fan.
So he goes on to talk to you about how he has read some of Elias's work, particularly around the Polynesian legends, and he talks about how he's heard of Cthulhu, he's heard of R'lyeh, and he finds there to be some certain disturbing parallels between the tales of the Sandbat and the god Cthulhu. He talks to you about how he's read the Ponape scriptures, which is a disgusting and disturbing tomb, but the university copy from Sydney was lent to John Scott of Boston, Massachusetts, and was never returned. And he... what else would he talk to you with an extreme roll? He plans on returning to Sydney within the next 7 months, and he would love it if you visited him there. But he thinks a colleague of his, Professor David Dodge, might be more apt at answering some of your questions.
Okay.
And he makes a short summary of his lecture himself as he begins to grow tired and doesn't necessarily want to repeat himself.
Okay.
And I will pass that to you.
No worries. Kind of one more question then. What have you made of the Carlisle incident that's been in the papers of late?
Mighty shame. I don't know too much about him, if I'm honest with you. Would have mind all that money though. I'm just laughing along and doing the things that I would normally do.
Okay. Well, I kind of turned to James and like, look, have you got anything else you think we should be asking?
No, as I say, Robert, this is it's more your world than mine.
So I just said, look, thank you so much for your time and thank you for the going back over things. I know we kind of missed the lecture and I know you must be tired. Are you in town for long?
Couple of days. Me and my daughter are staying nearby. Little bungalow on Pickham.
Okay. It would be delightful if we could meet you again before you left. Would you care to join us for dinner or go for drinks somewhere?
Sounds nice, Robert. Just give me a couple of days. It's been a lot of travelling.
No, as well. I kind of give him my details and hopefully take his, which is the point.
So he writes down he's between sort of the office that he's currently using is in the Liberal Arts Building, and Pickman is between Western Garrison, is where his flat is. He tips his hat to you, and you see him walk off to a young, blonde, freckly, pale girl near the door, which you can only assume is his daughter. Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, madam.
And
I kind of, I think at that point I kind of turn around to James and go, look, I think we better go back to the hotel. I think we've got as much as we're going to get from this. And it would be good to see what. Yeah, well, it'd be about 10:30, 11ish, wouldn't it? Because it finished at 10.
At least 10:30.
So let's get back to the hotel and see what the others have found out. Okay. See what's happening with Jackson.
And what are you, Victor and Jax? What are you doing in this past 2 hours? You've been looking around the room. Time is creeping on. The others don't seem to have returned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Victor from them
knows. And also they called us. I'm not sticking around in that place very long.
No, Victor would leave as soon as Jax does. He doesn't really want to be caught in a hotel room with a dead body.
I'll pull the door off the hinges and be like.
He kind of looks at you. He kind of looks at you and is like, 2 seconds, please. 2 seconds, please. And he pulls out his sketch pad and takes a sketch of the forehead cuts.
Okay.
I'll just stand there with the door.
It's easy to mirror.
Yeah. And then he just kind of like he says kind of goodbye to Jackson, and looks at Jackson. Is like, he was your friend, no? You don't want to say any last words for him?
Nah, just get out.
Okay. And then he just moves and gets out.
Put the door back in place as a leave.
Yep. Okay. So you managed to leave the hotel without any fuss and make it back to the New Grand, where your peers are waiting for you.
Cool. Can we stop and get some food on the way?
What?
Well, we're out. Like, you're.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to. I'm asking Jax. Do you mind if I stop and get some? I need some food.
You do you. I'm going by. I'll meet you at the hotel.
Okay, I'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.
And then, like, now alone in the streets of New York, Victor doesn't really take a single second to like even question anything. Just kind of finds somewhere to find some food and then gets back to the hotel as quickly as possible. Okay.
You managed to get a few classic dogs, and make your way back to the hotel, trouble-free, as the wind and the snow start up again. No one seems to be really hanging outside for too long.
Cool. And you guys are there, yeah? When we get back?
If we're not, I'm guessing we're not going to be too far. Well, yeah, 10:30 when we get back.
Yeah, you would have. You would have been back before
Okay, I get back. I eat.
But there would have been a note under your door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get back. I eat the hot dogs. I offer like half a really cold hot dog to Jax.
I'm good, thanks.
I mean, experience the culture, my friend. Experience the culture, and no, just me. Okay. I'm going to the room.
This is my culture. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to my room. Let me know when the others get here.
Okay. I'd follow you to the room.
No, I can't. Like, go to your own room.
And like as we get to the room that you've moved to, I realize that you're not sharing a room with me anymore. And I'm like, of course.
Bye.
Goodbye,
And then I
Jazz.
shut off.
And then I go to my room.
There's a note under your door, Victor.
Yeah.
There isn't. We don't know Jackson's been rude.
That's fair. I find the note and I start to like question and worry. So I go back down to the foyer and just kind of wait for them.
All right.
Okay. So, perhaps sort of 45 minutes later, they come in, shivering cold, snow resting up on their hair and shoulders. And as you go through the very dingy foyer that doesn't provide much more warmth than outside, but at least is a respite from the wind, you see Victor sitting in one of the few chairs waiting for you.
Victor,
Hello.
you make it out okay?
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Right.
Jackson's gone to bed, and I wanted to wait and see if you got back okay. Where did you go? It says you went to a lecture.
Yeah, I show Victor all the letters and everything that we've kind of we got, and the flyer. I explain, this was on the gentleman who we apprehended. We knew we couldn't get back into the hotel, so we thought that might be a good place to start, to look to find out what was going on. And I kind of give you the information of what the conversation we've had, and said that it might be an idea for me to speak with the professor mentioned by the Australian professor at some point, and maybe tell him about the cult and everything else that way around, and how it will link to Jackson. So I don't know what's happened with Elias. Because I'm guessing that we don't really know he's dead, because we kind of charged through the room and went down the steps. And... Oh no, actually, no, I would know, because James saw him, didn't he?
Briefly, I flew through the room.
Yeah. So yeah, what's happened with Elias?
He's dead. Your friend is dead. I'm sorry, Saz. Your friend is very dead. He seems to have been ritually murdered.
I kind of get upset with that, because obviously I felt quite a kinship to Jackson, so I'm kind of a bit distraught. I kind of step away from there and need to take a seat.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, sir.
Did you find anything in the room?
We found nothing. Not even his personal effects. Just his clothes and the cuts upon his forehead. Like I said, it was almost ritualistic. I will say I recognize them. I've studied these things. You see.
Okay, and what is it that you saw?
And I showed them the sketch of the cuts.
Okay.
Would I know what these were?
You can make an occult roll. Again, it's going to be a hard one.
Oh, just off.
Use your luck.
Yeah. Oh, I could not spend the luck, and I could just ask Victor what he thinks they are.
Yes. I believe they are related to a cult known as the Bloody Tongue. I think I think they are from Kenya, but I don't know really. I would like to look into it a little bit more tomorrow if we have time. But if you have people to meet, we can do that. It seems we are at a bit of a loss, however, as our main
How are you
village.
in the library, Victor?
I'm not super great. I can find a book.
Then welcome to my universe. I think tomorrow I will go and help you research that.
Of course. Let's do that. That sounds like a day well spent.
I don't know about you guys, but it's been a very, very long day. A day like I haven't had for at least 4 years. I think I need to go to get some sleep.
Are you saying that we are on another adventure, like your old adventure? Is this going to be as important?
Let's hope not.
I had hoped that it would be.
Victor, pray you never have to go through what we did 4 years ago. Hopefully your father told you about the horrible things that happened as well as the good things. And I kind of tap him on the shoulder and head off.
He kind of nods in a confused manner of not really quite understanding why, because it was almost romanticized as this like adventure of things to him. So
Okay. So Robert is left for bed to the room next door.
sure.
James.
Well, I'm gonna go and crash out.
Victor stays up and has a look at these effects that he was just handed.
Okay.
And just takes a couple of hours to realize that he's just seen his first dead body and he's in the middle of like a thing.
And as you do that, can you make a sanity roll as you sort of start to think about the impact of what that's like? And I suppose
Critical hit.
after the stories that your father told you, it was like you remembered him saying, not pretty, but nonetheless, you managed to not be too freaked out by it. And the rest of you, as you start to retire to bed, you realise that you've seen a few dead bodies now, and unfortunately, you're starting to get used to it.
Caused a few.
And at that point, if no one else wants to do anything tonight, we shall end today's session.
Cool.